Welcome to the Movies of the Damn podcast. My name is Kyle Grant, and I'm sitting here with my friend and published horror author, John Hunt. If you enjoy what you hear here today, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, check out our Facebook page, and follow us on both Instagram and Twitter, @DamnMovies. Email us any questions, comments, and suggestions to moviesofthedamned@gmail.com. For further details on John's published works, please visit his blog, johnhuntfiction.wordpress.com. Today, we'll be discussing Bong Joon-ho's 2019 film, Parasite. The movie follows unemployed members of a poor household as they scheme their way into working for a wealthy family while pretending that they are not related. The discovery of a hidden bunker under the house leads to a series of spiraling events, which ultimately results in violence, several deaths, arrests, and the father of the poor family becoming a fugitive on the run. The movie ends as it's revealed that the now fugitive father is living in the bunker himself, with the son's lifelong goal to save up enough money to buy the house and free him. John, opening thoughts on the movie?
Yeah, so this one came to my attention through my family. So Ethan heard a lot about it, and he went to see it with Louise and my two other daughters. And they came back saying it was really, really, really good. And then there's also been a lot of buzz about it on the Cannes circuit, I think.
Yeah, awards, got nominated for a bunch of Golden Globes.
Yeah, so, this is like one of those movies. I know that's primarily a horror podcast, but this is also one of those ones where it's like, we're going to do what we want. So we went and saw this movie.
But it still does have those like dark horror elements to it. Like there was like a big like killing scene at the end.
No, for sure. But if you were to go into now defunct movie aisles, like at a Blockbuster or whatever,
Yeah.
it wouldn't be in the horror section.
No, it wouldn't be. It'd
right?
be in the foreign language section. Yeah, but I get what you're saying.
Yeah. So, but once again, like we went to see it. We saw it together at the theater here where we are, and it was a good time. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a great film, actually.
Yeah, we went to see it in kind of a small little theater in Guelph called The Bookshelf, which is kind of like a small, older cinema. Like, I don't even know if there'd be 100 seats in there. And they kind of only get kind of those smaller films, like documentaries, foreign language films, almost like a bit of an artsier type of theater,
For
right?
sure. That's where I had my book signing, actually.
Yeah, and so this was there, and like it's been getting a ton of great press on it. You don't see a lot of Korean movies making its way to cinemas in North America, and the fact that they got nominated for Golden Globes, and then the good word of mouth from John's family, we're like, let's do this.
Yeah.
And boy, am I glad that we saw it.
Yeah, for sure. So let's get into it. So, what did you think about the whole progression?
First thing was that I did a good job of not ruining this movie for me at all. I didn't do any reading about the plot. I didn't watch a trailer. Yep. I didn't know anything about it going in, other than the fact is that I'd heard that there was a big twist kind of halfway through.
Okay.
So I heard there was a big twist, but other than that, I didn't know what this movie was. But as far as the progression, it was a little bit slow. It's kind of like, where's this movie going type of thing. Mm-hmm. But I guess what kept me on the edge of my seat is that I knew that there was a twist coming somewhere.
Well, I didn't find it slow at any point. I thought the very beginning was mostly character development.
Yeah, and
right?
it was,
Yeah, so introducing the audience, to the characters and see who they are, what they're all about, what sort of skill sets they bring to that family. And I enjoyed that portion of it.
Maybe slow is the wrong word. Maybe it was more like I'm not sure the direction where it was going.
Yeah,
because it's kind of like we're almost like halfway through the movie, and all four of them have now been hired by this rich household.
Yeah,
what's going to happen for the remainder of this film?
Yes. So, but I was watching the film though. I'm like, because when I always watch a film and I'm like, I'm not usually doing this in the moment. Just something that kind of just kind of my brain kind of floats sometimes, right? So I'm watching it, I'm going like, well, why are they showing this whole stink bug portion? Why are they showing all this extermination stuff? Like, why are we seeing all this? I get that we don't need to see this to know that they're poor,
Yeah.
right? So,
Was
but
it just to add comedy, you think?
I don't even. Well, I'm thinking about it. So, like, I was thinking about it, like later on, because throughout the movie, more stuff becomes involved. So it's like the whole portion with that whole. It was a dad that saw the stink bug on the table, right? And then the exterminators were coming down the street. And he's like, "Keep the windows open. We get free extermination." Right? That's the funny part.
Oh, and then also that they're like, when everything's in there, they can't breathe anymore, right? Too.
Yeah, except for the dad seemed to be doing fine, right? So it was one of those things, like when the extermination stuff was coming in.
Oh, I didn't even think of that.
Right. So then, but then later on, remember the thing that set him off was people saying that he stunk.
But he can't smell himself.
Yeah. So it's like he sees a stink bug, and then they have all that portion, and he's not affected by it. I'm like, that's kind of a interesting, either symbolic character tie or what. I don't know what it was, but it was very interesting to me to see how that kind of all tied in together, or whether or not it does. I could be spitballing here. I don't know, but
it makes sense.
To me, it was just like, it's just like, this is very interesting. It's a very good, it's almost like foreshadowing without actually foreshadowing. You know what I mean? Because it added a different element to it, but with a symbolic foreshadowing that you can't actually put into play until later on in the film.
But then when it does come into play, it's like, then you have that aha moment, right? Or
well, yeah. So I had it like when they kept talking about it, right? And it's just like, well, just more near the, like when the rich husband was talking about his stench, right? And he's like, he kept trying to smell himself, trying to figure out like, what are they talking about, right?
Yeah.
So I had it. Then I'm like, well, then they had that. When that happened, I was like, okay, well, then there's that stink bug whole portion, right? And then all the other stuff before that, and then you gotta, and then I look back at like the rock that they were given too, right? That's really the catalyst that set this all off.
Oh, getting that, it was supposed to bring wealth or something like that,
right? So a poor family, and they were given this rock by a friend to bring wealth, and what happens?
Wealth starts coming,
right? They become a part of that wealth family.
But their problem is that they never could get enough. They just wanted to keep pushing the boundaries. So like one of them gets hired, they should be pumped about that. No, let's get a second one hired. No, let's get a third one hired. No, let's get a fourth one hired. Oh, now let's start using and abusing their house when they're not home.
So I didn't mind the second one getting hired, the daughter getting hired. I didn't mind that, right?
Yeah, because that made sense. It's like they saw an opening, go for it.
Yeah, and there's no one that would lose their job.
Exactly.
Right? There's no one that was getting hurt out of this whole thing. There's just like, okay, these rich people, we can take advantage of this. We have absolutely nothing. And sometimes it's not like they were stealing or robbing or hurting anyone. They're just like, okay, well, I'm going to spend time with this kid, and that's about it, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, there's nothing too, I would say, sinister about that.
And I don't even know why they needed to lie about not being related. Why couldn't you have just said, oh, my sister went to this school. She's an art major. She could teach her son.
So I don't know where that came from or why, but I think it's one of those ones where it's like, if you're going to give, say where you work where you work.
Okay.
And then, your boss saying, hey, I need someone like this, right? If you were to say, yeah, my brother, he'd be good at that. He'd be a good job. Like, your boss would look at you and go, you're just trying to get your brother a job.
Oh, okay,
right?
Okay.
So instead of just like going, hey, I heard of this person. I heard they're very effective. I heard that they have the skill set that you're looking for. It
just adds a little bit to it because then you're not coming off as biased.
Yeah, you're not coming off as biased, and it just adds some legitimacy to. It just adds more to it, right? So it adds more legitimacy to what you're trying to offer them, right?
Okay, that makes sense. I didn't look at it that way.
Well, that's the only reason why I thought there was no, because once again, like you hit it right. There really was no reason to lie, right? Except for that reason. And if you're poor and you want this person to get the job to contribute to your family, you don't want to take a risk. So you're going to do that, right? You're going to put the best light possible on a prospect that you're giving.
Yeah, no. I get that. I get that. But to just kind of go on from your previous thought, you're right. Those first two hires, there's nothing sinister there. There's nothing too devious. Yeah, you are lying, but it's almost more like white lies than anything else because you're still doing the job.
Yes.
But then the third hire was the dad, right?
Yep.
That's when things go off the rails a
Yeah,
little bit, right?
for sure. Because the daughter left panties in the back of the car to sabotage him.
Yeah, so you're to the point where not only is he gonna get fired, but he also doesn't have a reference now, right?
No, like yeah, because it's a bad circumstance for him to leave,
Yeah.
right? So it's not a good thing. It's not like you would recommend this person to someone else if you thought they were having sex in the back of your car,
Yeah.
right? When they're supposed to be driving you around. So, that's when it started to get to the point where okay, well, they're not doing the right things anymore, or not even. They're doing less than the right things because lying about all that stuff's not necessarily the right thing, but from the position that they're in, extreme poverty,
Doing what they have to get jobs.
without hurting anyone,
Yeah.
is fine. But now they've hurt someone, right? They've taken the job away from someone else, and they've manufactured that opportunity at the expense of someone else's livelihood.
No.
So
You're absolutely right. But and then they did the same thing to the housekeeper.
yes,
And that sequence did have me laughing though, like
it's funny.
the
It
fake
was,
tuberculosis and everything like
yeah,
that.
and then using the
The peaches, yeah.
the allergy to the peaches, and it's like such a clever movie, such a fun movie, such a good movie to watch. But you could see the progression of and they were a tightly knit family.
Yeah, but I think if I remember right, they did feel bad. One of them asked the question about the driver to the other one, like, do you think he got another job?
That was it. I want to talk about this later too. It's like we can do it now, but it's like that was the dad. The dad was the only one that was ever concerned about the other people.
Okay.
Right? Like they were talking, and remember, because then the daughter yelled at him, "Why don't you care about me? Like, what about me? What about us? Right? Like, you're worried about him. Like, what about us? Right? Like,
Yeah.
And so I found that sequence very interesting. How the dad seemed to be the only one concerned about what's happening to the other people.
Like almost had a bit of a sober second thought, a bit of a conscience.
A bit of a conscience, which I found he actually cared about the other people, but which I found contrasted greatly with the last act that he did.
The last act did confuse me.
So
Like he killed someone because that person said that he smelled.
So there was a build up with that though, right? Because you could see that there's a sequence. So he was always the stinking part, and then his own wife thinking of him as a coward. You know what I mean? And that the whole anger issue at the table that was when they're in the house drinking all their booze. Which was like, oh, look at us, we're actually joking, but they're not joking, right? There's the undertones there.
Yeah. And then she's like, if we actually do fight, I would kill him or something like that.
Yeah. There's the undertone of seriousness to this jest, right? They know they're at that point. If we go a little further, then we're not coming back from this, right?
Yeah.
So his anger was definitely building. But from a standpoint of the entire family, he's the only one that ever cared about what they were doing to these other people. And then that one last thing... Once again, you got to look into what everything that was going on. Like, his daughter was just stabbed. Like, there's a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah, his daughter's just stabbed, so he's a little bit out of his mind. But it wasn't stabbed by that guy.
No, absolutely not. It wasn't stabbed by that guy.
But then that guy, it seemed like he didn't care about the daughter. He cared about his son.
For sure, and of course, because he doesn't know that the person stabbed was this guy's daughter, right? He has no idea. Right? He has no idea that any of these guys are related.
And I think the other thing that pushed him too is he felt like, I don't know if he felt embarrassed or just like when he was made him dress up as the Indian.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, and he had to say to him, he could tell he wasn't into it. He's like, this is a part of your job. You're getting paid overtime for this. Like, just, he was kind of being like put in his place. And I think he was kind of like done with being in that place.
Well,
you know what I mean?
Well, the boss made that a point about that throughout the entire film, right? Like crossing the line.
Yeah,
You're
it's
my
like
employee.
Keep your eyes on the road.
Yeah, don't cross the line, that type of thing. And then, when him and his wife were talking on the couch and they talked about his stink, and then, after the flood and everything was in their place was ruined and he had to sleep in the gymnasium and he would have stunk. And then the wife in the back of the car had to roll down the window because he stunk so much. Then he's trying to smell himself again.
Yeah,
There was
yeah.
like you could see the build up; it was coming there. But I didn't. But I didn't see that build up or that rage or any at any point transferred to the rich people. You know what I mean? Because he never looked at them madly. He never looked at them like he wanted to hurt them. Before that, it was just not. It was more like, do I really stink? It was more like a questioning thing about his own worth.
And then he was regretful at the end.
Absolutely.
Remember when he was in the bunker and he was like apologizing?
Yeah. So he like I found that contrasted greatly with the character that they built up, but once again, not to the detriment of the film. Like it didn't find a negative. It wasn't a negative for me, because some good people do terrible things sometimes, right?
Oh, 100% they do.
In a bad
Everyone has
moment.
that human weakness.
Yeah, a moment of indecision. That's something that you wish you could take back, but you can't. Everyone's experienced it to a small or a greater degree. So it didn't, like, to me, it wasn't like, oh, that's impossible. This would never happen. This is a family in a tight spot. And because especially in that one sequence when they're all working together, like, and the family's downstairs, right? And at this point, they don't know that they killed the woman.
Yeah.
Right, but they know that there's a man, that they're down there and that they could be hungry. They're worried about that. They're worried about being discovered. There's a lot going on here in that one sequence that could cause the stress level to get to such a degree where
it just boils over.
yeah, right. So I really like this film though.
No,
I'm interested about The Rock though. Like, remember?
yeah. What was he going down there to kill them?
I think he was going down there to give it to them.
To give it to them.
Yeah.
Oh, so he wasn't going down there to harm
Because
them.
he got it. That rock for good fortune.
I thought he was going down there to try and kill them.
No, I thought so. The way I look at it, this is the way I see it. So he gets the rock from his friend for good fortune, right? This will help. This will change your family's fortune. It does, but he doesn't like the cost. The cost is actually kind of bothering.
Oh, it's weighing on him.
Yeah,
He was laying in the gymnasium there crying.
Yeah, so he does, but he doesn't want to, lose the fortune that he has, but he wants to transfer this rock, this thing that has given him good fortune, but at the same time, but he wants to give that away. He wants to give it to someone else. So I think he was bringing it down there to say, here, this will help you. Well, at the same time, it was really helping him, right? Because he didn't want it anymore. And so I think that's what he was on his way down there to do, and that's why it was important for him to bring it.
Interesting. And then it led to kind of that, I guess the guy who had been living in the bunker forever kind of escaping. And how gruesome was that when he kind of knocked Kevin out and then slammed the rock on his head again?
I know, that was like...
Oh my gosh, right?
See, this is what I'm talking about. This film did it right. So it's like, in real life, it's hard to kill people. Like, it's actually hard to... So when you watch those horror movies where it's just like, it gets...
One stab and they're dead.
Yeah,
or one shot and you're dead.
Yeah, like you're just... No, it doesn't... People are hard to kill.
Yeah.
Like, it can happen. You can get stabbed and it hits your heart, you're done. You're done immediately. Right?
Yeah.
There's no there's none of that crap, right? You're dead. And same with the parts of your brain, certain areas of your brain, or the spine or whatever, right? It can happen, but like with the frequency that it does in a movie, like one horror movie, like there's one killer walking around stabbing all these people and them dying instantly. No. So I like it when you see these films and it's, you know what I mean?
It's
like,
a little bit more realistic in that way, right?
It's
And then he goes out so after he slams that rock on Kevin's head for the second time, he then goes out to the backyard, and that's when there's the crazy, he eventually gets killed by getting the, like, I want us to call it like the sausage skewer to his body.
It was definitely, it was a skewer.
Like a shish kebab skewer or like a rotisserie skewer.
Yeah, a rotisserie skewer for sure, because it was larger than a shish kebab.
But then how good was that shot afterwards where he's lying there dead and the dog is trying to get the sausage off the skewer, right? Like, that was awesome.
Yeah, like this was it's one of those movies where after you're done watching it, you still think about it. And
you think about it a ton, right?
Yeah, so I really like when films can do that. They leave a lasting impression. You know what I mean? It's like a lot of times you'll watch a film and as soon as the credits roll up, you're done with it and you're moving on to the next thing, right? You're actually, maybe even before the credits roll up, you're already thinking about what you need to do after the movie's over. I got to make dinner. I got to get my kids ready for swimming or whatever,
your mind just
right?
starts wandering, like you said, right?
Right, but this movie didn't give you that opportunity. And
No, I was into it the whole time.
Right.
I knew that the twist had something to do with the basement.
Okay, explain.
There was the one scene where the original housekeeper goes down to the basement, and the madam kind of goes down and surprises her, interrupts her.
Oh yeah, when she's
and,
getting that plum sauce.
and she was kind of reaching behind for something,
Mm.
and I'm like, she has something hidden here. Now, I didn't know it was going to be like this huge bunker with her husband in it.
Yeah.
But I'm like, she has something back
Yeah,
there.
yeah. So I remember that, but then I was like, well, when she showed up, and I was like, well, that's what she's coming back for.
Yeah.
Right. So it wasn't really.
I had no idea it was going to turn into this like kidnapping murder fest type thing.
What I found interesting was that the husband ended up in the exact same position.
Yeah.
Right.
But he's like almost like he's a fugitive now, and if he gets caught, he goes to jail. But he's basically living in jail.
He's in jail right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's like the thing. So like there were, the housekeeper was hiding her husband in the basement, right? And then when the new housekeeper is now hiding her husband in the basement.
Yeah.
So I was like, this is kind of cool, man. I think it's a good look where you're ending up.
One thing that I found really interesting about this movie, John, and it sounds like you might be on the same page as me. Like, I found myself rooting for this family, even though they weren't good people. They weren't doing good things.
I know.
Now, their actions didn't mean they deserved to die.
No.
But
once again, they weren't doing terrible things.
Yeah, they didn't.
You know
They didn't want anyone to get hurt.
No.
And they weren't even like defrauding anyone.
No.
Like they just wanted jobs.
Yeah. They just wanted to work. They wanted to actually have like phones with working Wi-Fi. They wanted some food. Remember the wife was saying, I would just like some food.
Yeah.
They wanted to eat, and they wanted to actually live, and they wanted to work for it. Right? And so really they're not, it's one of those things where they're absolutely not terrible people. Right? They didn't make great decisions, obviously. But they're not terrible people.
No, they weren't. But I just found myself rooting for them.
Yeah, for sure. And when they were asking about the welfare of these other people afterwards, you kind of felt like, right there, you're like, okay, well, they're not just hucksters. They actually are worried about what their actions are causing other people to go through. Right? They don't want to put someone else in the position that they were in.
Yeah.
Right? So it's easy to root for that family, and they were genuinely fun to watch and fun to talk.
Oh, just in the way they interact, they were a lot of fun, and they're very bright. They're very smart.
Yeah.
But so that brings me to one of my issues with the movie.
Mm-hmm.
I found they were smart. They were bright the entire way. They had kind of everything figured out. They always seemed like they were a few steps ahead.
Mm-hmm.
And then the rich family goes camping. They're sitting there in the living room. It is like pouring rain, lightning, and it never once crosses their mind, oh, I wonder if the family's going to come back early from camping.
So I didn't really care about that because it just depends on where they were going camping. Like, you don't know, right? So it's like, so it might be pouring here, but it's not pouring in Wasaga, right? So where are they going camping?
Yeah. How far
Right?
away?
So-
Okay. But then what about the fact that they're there drinking all the alcohol? Like, the alcohol's going to be gone.
Yeah, I know.
Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
And I don't think they have the means to replace it
I think they do.
because of the fact that they've been working for them now.
Yeah, well, look at the cash the son got the first day,
Oh yeah, that's right.
right? Like, it's just.
And I loved too on the daughter's first day how she took control.
Yeah.
So no, you can't watch my lesson. I don't have parents in the room.
Yeah.
Just stuff like. And then she wants to talk to the mom and tells the housekeeper, no, you can't. You can't listen. This is just between me and the madame or whatever.
I know. That's they were. Like I said, they were a very interesting family to watch. They were very fun.
So how about this? So second issue with the movie, and there's only two.
Mm-hmm.
The melee, I'll call it, is kind of over,
Mm-hmm.
and you see the teenage girl carrying Kevin on her back.
Yeah.
She would have seen the bunker.
Yeah.
So they would have known about the bunker then, and the dad wouldn't have been able to hide there.
Would she have seen the bunker though?
Kevin was lying directly in front of the opening to the bunker.
Yes, he was lying right outside of it. I don't remember if anyone closed it or not.
It got closed when the dad snuck back in there. And Kevin wasn't there when the dad snuck back in there. So she had already picked Kevin up.
Yes, that's interesting.
So she would have seen the only argument to what I just said is like she's this young teenage girl. She sees her boyfriend. That's her only focus. She's only looking at her boyfriend, picking him up and getting out of there.
But once again, no, you're right. They should have showed that. So I might have to watch this movie again because I'm not too sure. Like I think that's a major point. They should have had that door closed for some reason. It might have been closed. Like I seem to remember the dad pushing it open.
No, Kevin pushed it open. Kevin did that thing where he like, which I thought was like kind of a crazy visual, like wedged himself up against the wall.
I remember
pushing.
that. I remember that. But remember, they did the flashback with the dad going down. Didn't he have to go and grab that pinwheel? Remember that was hidden?
Yeah, he grabbed it from the top and went back in there and then closed it.
I thought the door might have been closed when he did that. I don't know though.
It wasn't, John.
Yeah.
And if it was, they didn't show how it could have been, because if you remember, Kevin was literally running out of that bunker. The thing around his neck got caught. It threw him to the ground, and the other husband came out, and that's when he smashed him.
Yeah.
And then he just went straight upstairs.
He smashed him twice, right?
Yeah.
Do it, and hit him again, and just walked away. You're right. No one closed the door.
Yeah. So it's like it should have been discovered. Like so she would have seen it.
Yeah.
But again, extremely small point, nitpicking there. Great movie.
Yeah, absolutely. Great film. I didn't even think about that. That's good.
Well, I hope that doesn't ruin it for you.
It doesn't ruin it for me. I just, but you know how I like things to be
to line up perfectly.
Yeah, right. So, that could be an issue.
The one thing that almost made me furious is I thought there was about to be a happy ending, because it shows like how he like the son had like the son's talking about how he wants to save up to buy the house to free his dad, but then it looks like he actually does and frees the dad. I'm like, there's no way the movie ends like this. But then I'm glad it ends with him. You see the socks hanging there again, and he's like, and the son is still in that like slum kind of semi basement thing.
Yeah, so I remember that part, and I was like, okay, well, this is not happening, right? Yeah. I knew it wasn't real, because once again, like, so this family's in poverty the whole time. But now that your dad's stuck in the basement, now you're going to earn enough money to be rich?
Now I'm motivated to go to school.
Like, what?
Yeah. And then the other thing they were talking about, too, is, like, there's no way he could do it quick. Because I think they said something like, there's some line, like, anytime, like, a security officer job gets posted, like, 500 university graduates apply to it or something like that.
There's just no work.
Yeah.
Right? There's just no work.
Which I didn't know that was going on in South Korea. I had no idea.
Well, I have no idea either.
Yeah, so who knows? Just lots of interesting stuff. This movie right now, Rotten Tomatoes 99 for the critics.
Oh wow!
I'm actually surprised. Like, who disliked this movie? Like, what did you say that was bad about this movie? Right?
I know.
And I know we
maybe
brought
it's
up
that door point.
Yeah, maybe we brought up this point before, but that was more. Our answer was always, "Oh, these people don't like horror movies." But I just don't understand how you could give this a thumbs down.
Yeah, I don't know either.
Audience score 93.
Really?
Yeah, still in the 90s, but yeah, it's like, who are these 7% of people? Like, what do they like, right? Maybe they're like me and they hate subtitles.
Right? They're like, subtitles, I'm out. This is a thumbs down.
Junk.
Why couldn't they just dub it?
Budget, $11 million.
Mm-hmm.
As of the recording of this podcast, 127 million. But that number's just growing because of award season. And as I kind of mentioned already, this thing has been nominated for 3 Golden Globes for Best Director, Best Screenplay, and Best Foreign Language Film. Yeah. So that's a big deal for a Korean film. As of the recording of this podcast, the Oscar nominations haven't come out yet.
Yeah.
My guess will be this will be nominated for at least 4 Oscars.
Mm-hmm.
I'm guessing it's probably going to get nominated again for those 3 categories I just mentioned: Best Foreign Language Film, Best Screenplay, Best Director. But I also believe that it'll be nominated for Best Picture.
Yeah, I think so.
Because with the Oscars, there's more pictures get nominated for Best Picture than they do at the Golden Globe. So there'll be more slots for it to get in there.
Yeah, for sure.
It was also on a ton of top 10 lists for like Best of 2019.
Yeah.
But also for Best of the Decade, which is kind of cool.
I think I would have a hard time disagreeing with that.
Yeah.
Right? Like with the decade thing, I think it's an excellent film.
Yeah, I'd have to really sit down and like go through all the movies of the decade, but like this is, I think it's the best movie I've seen this year so far.
You like it better than Once Upon a Time?
I would say so.
Oh my god.
I would say I seen better than The Irishman, I think, as well too.
I haven't watched The Irishman. I couldn't have an opinion on that, but I
Yeah.
really,
And I'm
really
not saying
liked
that
Once
it's
Upon a Time.
bad. Like
Yeah.
they'd be close, but like I just love the originality of this one. I just thought it was
so
like a really fun story.
Ethan says it's the same for him. It's the same as Once Upon a Time.
And that's a lot from Ethan because,
Yeah.
as you folks know, Ethan's that huge Tarantino fan,
So
right?
And then when I said to him, I go like, I said it's close. It's really close. Like if this was like Once Upon a Time is 100, like this is 99. Like it's so close for me.
Yeah.
But Once Upon a Time, I just loved it so much.
Yeah, I don't know what to say. Good film.
Yeah, great film.
Do yourself a favor, go and see this movie.
Yeah.
It might not be easy because, at least for us, it's not playing in our two major cinemas here in our town, but it was in that smaller art house one. Do what you have to do to go and see this movie.
Yeah, absolutely. You will not regret it. It's excellent.
Well, buddy, anything else to add about this one?
Nope.
Well, folks, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, check out our Facebook page, and follow us on both Twitter and Instagram @DamnMovies. We want to hear what you thought of today's podcast, and especially any suggestions you have in terms of what movies you'd like us to discuss next. Send us an email to moviesofthedamned@gmail.com. Please also check out John's full-length novels. His first two novels, Dollhouse and The Tracker, are Amazon bestsellers. You can also order his novella Balance, his book of short stories, 4 Shots of Horror, and his newest novel, Off the Grid, right now on Amazon. For further details on John's other published works, please visit his blog, johnhuntfiction.wordpress.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Yep. Have a great week, everyone. And be kind to everyone.